Have you ever met someone from Tinder before? If you haven't yet, then be careful who you meet. Otherwise, it can end up tragically like today's case. In December 2018, a young British backpacker was exploring New Zealand, enjoying what was supposed to be her trip of a lifetime. But in a series of tragic events, 22-year-old Grace Millane never makes it home. What started as an ordinary Tinder date quickly turned into one of New Zealand's most shocking murder cases, leaving a family shattered and the world in disbelief. This is the story of Grace Millane. Grace Millane was born on December 2nd, 1996 in Wickford, Essex, England. She grew up in a loving family. She was the youngest of her 3 siblings. Her parents described Grace as a creative and adventurous person with a close-knit family background and kind nature, bubbly personality. Grace studied at the University of Lincoln, where she pursued a degree in advertising and marketing. She had a strong passion for photography, and she frequently shared her travelogues on social media, using them as a means of communication with her loved ones. In 2018, after completing her studies, Grace decided to take a gap year and go on a solo backpacking trip, a journey many young people dream of. On the solo backpacking trip around the world, she had travelled through South America and then arrived in New Zealand. Auckland, the country's largest city, was just another stop on her journey. Grace Millane arrived in Auckland, New Zealand in late November 2018 as part of her solo backpacking trip across the world. During her days in Auckland, Grace stayed at a backpacker hostel in the heart of the city. Like many travellers, she used her time in the city to explore the local area and enjoy the lively atmosphere. Grace spent time visiting popular spots in the city, including places like Sky City and the Auckland Domain, as well as trying out local cafes and meeting other travellers. She kept in touch with her family and friends back in the UK, sharing updates and photos of her travels. Her online presence, particularly on Instagram, reflected her enjoyment of the new experiences and places she was discovering. On December 1st, 2018, the day before her 22nd birthday, Grace was feeling very lonely because tomorrow is her birthday and she is alone in Auckland. So, she decided to go out and enjoy the city's nightlife. In the meantime, she thought of using Tinder, a dating app to connect with local people and to enjoy her days in Auckland. And soon, she connected with a local man. To her, he seemed very genuine and interesting, and they agreed to meet for drinks. That evening, Grace and the mysterious man visited several bars, including the Mexican Cafe and the Bluestone Room, which are popular with both locals and tourists. Throughout the evening, CCTV footage showed Grace and Kempson chatting and laughing as they moved between different venues. By all accounts, it appeared to be a normal night out for Grace, like many young travellers who explore cities while meeting new people. However, this would tragically be the last evening of her life. And sadly, the events of that night brought her journey to a devastating and heartbreaking end. On the night of December 1st, Grace made a match on the dating app Tinder. She had connected with a 26-year-old man named Jesse Kempson. They agreed to meet that evening for drinks. The pair were seen at various bars around Auckland that night. Witnesses described them as friendly and comfortable with each other. They spent hours together before heading back to Jesse's apartment at the City Life Hotel in the heart of the city. What seemed like a normal date would soon take a dark and horrifying turn. When Grace's family back in the UK failed to contact her on December 2nd on her 22nd birthday, her parents and other family members grew concerns. It wasn't usual that it was Grace's birthday, and she had not responded to the usual birthday wishes from her family and friends. Worried about the sudden silence, her parents report her missing to New Zealand authorities. The New Zealand police launched an investigation, tracking her last known movements and releasing video footage to the public. The police immediately start searching for Grace. After reviewing video footage from the bars and hotel, authorities quickly identified Jesse Kempson as the last person to have seen her. They interviewed him, but his story doesn't add up. Initially, Kempson tries to claim that Grace left his apartment alive, but inconsistencies in his behaviour and the evidence soon lead to his arrest. After days of intense searching, police trace Kempson's movements using video footage and cell phone data. On December 9th, 2018, authorities discovered the suitcase containing Grace Millane's body buried in the Waitakere Ranges. The grim discovery confirms the worst fears of her family, who had been holding out hope for her safe return. In a shocking twist, the main suspect of the case, Jesse Kempson, initially claimed Grace's death was a tragic accident during consensual rough sex. But the evidence told a different story. Police discovered that after her death, Kempson took disturbing steps to cover up the crime. After confronting him many times, he finally unfolded the whole crime scenario. On the 1st of December, as the night progressed, Jesse and Grace continued to drink, and by all appearances, the evening seems like a typical night out between two people getting to know each other. After a few hours of bar hopping, Grace and Kempson left the Bluestone Room and walked toward the City Life Hotel, where Kempson was living in a rented apartment. Video cameras capture the pair entering the hotel together. They enter an elevator and the doors closes, and this is the last time Grace was seen alive. Once inside Kempson's hotel room, events took a tragic and violent turn. According to Kempson's later claims, they engaged in consensual sex that included elements of strangulation. He argued that Grace's death was accidental, but the evidence presented during the trial suggested otherwise. Forensic analysis showed that Grace had been strangled for an extended period, which indicated a deliberate and sustained effort to kill her. The prosecution argued that this was not an accident, but rather a murder carried out by Kempson in a fit of violence. At 12 a.m. after Grace's death, rather than seeking help, Kempson spends time on his phone searching on the internet for violent pornography and taking photographs of her body. He begins Googling how to dispose of a body, researching topics like how to get rid of a body and Waitakere Ranges, a remote area near Auckland, the morning of December 2nd. Jesse Kempson calmly leaves the City Life Hotel and goes shopping for cleaning supplies, including a suitcase, in which he plans to hide Grace's body. CCTV footage from a local store shows Kempson purchasing the suitcase that would later be used to transport her remains. Later in the day, Kempson returns to the hotel and begins the process of cleaning up the scene. He places Grace's body into the suitcase and loads it into a rented car. In the early hours of December 3rd, Kempson drives the car to the Waitakere Ranges, a dense forested area on the outskirts of Auckland, where he buries the suitcase with Grace's body inside. On December 9th, 2018, authorities discovered the suitcase containing Grace Millane's body buried in the Waitakere Ranges. The grim discovery confirms the worst fears of her family, who had been holding out hope for her safe return. In further investigation, Jesse Kempson discovered about his life full of lies. Jesse Shane Kempson, born in December 1991, is a New Zealander. At the time, he was 26 years old, living a transient lifestyle in Auckland, staying in hotels and using dating apps like Tinder to meet women. Kempson had a troubled background, estranged from his family, and was known for lying about his life, often claiming wealth and success that he didn't have. And that's how he used to fool innocent women like Grace. Kempson was convicted of raping another woman he met on Tinder in November 2018 and sexually assaulting another woman in 2017. These cases came to light after his arrest for Grace's murder, with the victim coming forward during the investigation. Jesse Kempson was charged with the murder of Grace Millane after her body was found in a suitcase buried in Auckland's Waitakere Ranges. The prosecution argued that Grace was strangled for an extended period, which was deliberate and not accidental as Kempson claimed. Additional charges of rape and sexual assault. After his arrest, 2 more women came forward, accusing Kempson of rape and sexual assault. He was charged in 2 separate cases involving these women, both of whom he had also met through Tinder. The trial for Grace Mullane's murder began in November 2019 in Auckland. Kempson pleaded not guilty, claiming that her death was accidental during consensual rough sex. The defence attempted to argue that Grace had agreed to the use of strangulation and that her death was unintended. However, the prosecution, led by Crown Prosecutor Brian Dickey, presented evidence that contradicted Kempson's version of events, including the amount of force used during strangulation, suggesting that it was intentional. Kempson's behaviour after the murder. Kempson had a history of violent and manipulative behaviour towards women, as evidenced by the other charges against him. The key evidence of this case were video footage, his internet searches and other testimonies. After 3 weeks of trial, the jury found Jesse Kempson guilty of murder on November 22, 2019. In February 2020, Kempson was sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum non-parole period of 17 years for Grace Mullane's murder. Grace Mullane's murder sent shockwaves through New Zealand and around the world. Her family, heartbroken, spoke of their daughter's adventurous spirit and love for life. In the wake of her death, conversations about online dating safety, violence against women, and the rough sex defence took centre stage. The Grace Mullane case serves as a tragic reminder of the dangers that sometimes accompany modern dating culture. For Grace's family, the world has forever lost a bright young woman with so much potential. And this was the tragic story about Grace Mullane. Comment down below your viewpoint and let us know what your take on this case. And if you found this video informative, please like, share and subscribe for more in-depth stories. Thank you for watching.